Well, let's talk about playing blues from maybe a slightly different angle. You know, when you learn about blues and all the techniques that go into it, we tend to think sort of from the process forward. In other words, well, what scale do I play? Or what position do I play it in? How does that scale fit over that chord, et cetera, et cetera. And these are all technical challenges. They're very important. They can drive you crazy. But it's a technical approach. And then you listen to great blues. You hear, and I highly recommend, if there's one album, do they even have those anymore? If there's one recording that you can download that will change your life as a blues player, it would be B.B. King Live at the Regal. This was recorded in 1964 at the Regal Theater in Chicago. And it's not just B.B., it's the band, it's the crowd, it's a moment in time that, fortunately for us, has been captured. And what blows my mind when I listen to that record is he starts this one tune. It's a classic old blues called Sweet Little Angel. And he goes, he plays that, and the crowd goes crazy, screaming, crying. And I listen to that and I say, what is it that he just did? You know, and how do I do that? Well, you know, B.B., you got to hand it to him. He was a special guy. He had a whole array of talents, and you can't just imitate that. But there were certain elements that I think we can use to help us aspire to that same result. And I think what's the important thing that I'd like to talk about right now is that instead of thinking of the process like, well, what scale was that, you know? Okay, yeah, that was a scale, I guess. You know, those notes arranged in a row, call it a scale. It's more about what's he saying? What's he reaching for here? What's the song about, you know? We tend to play blues and it's like, well, it's a blues in A and 12 bar, here we go. There's no song there. It's chords, and you're playing scales over chords, and you say, well, I don't know, is that okay? Well, maybe not. You know, what's going on? What are you trying to do with it? That's what blues is all about. Blues arose as an expression. It was a reaction to dire circumstances. It was invented by people who were not musicians. They didn't like study music and then play blues. Blues was a development that came from people who just needed to express themselves and used music as a means. Then people went back later and said, oh, well, that's a major pentatonic, or let's call that the blues scale. You know, that was later. So what is the inspiration? Well, the song in this case, the B.B.'s playing Sweet Little Angel. Well, I got a sweet little angel. I love the way she spreads her wings, you know. It's very sweet. It's very romantic. It's sexy. And that's what's coming across. That's what he's got in mind. And when he starts that song off, that's what people pick up on. It isn't B.B. saying, well, I'm going to start this one with a major pentatonic lick that I learned. It's like, no. It's like, woo, right? You play it, you let it settle, you get a little reaction. Right? Now, how do you tie the message to the technique? Well, that's a challenge we all face, and there's no one answer for that. It isn't like I'm going to show you how to do that right now. But let me just sort of nudge you in a direction that I think will be fruitful. If you think about the setting, about the song, about the message, about who you're trying to reach, it will help you gather your resources and focus on what's most important and not get distracted by all the noise around it, all the technical considerations that tend to crowd out your mind. So come up with a scenario, right? Say, okay, I want to play a solo and I want, let's imagine, yeah, I've done this, literally, I've done this, being on stage. It's like, okay, there's a lady there in the third row. I'm going to see if I can get a reaction, you know. Now, if you're playing two musicians and trying to get a reaction from musicians, Good luck. Musicians are not normal people. The guitar players are all looking at, yeah, I can do that, you know. So, no. You're playing to real human beings. And so how do you reach real human beings? It's the non-musicians. So I want to get a reaction. I'm going to play something that has more emotional content because that's what's going to get across, not, oh, check out my fancy lick, because they don't care. They don't even know it's fancy, you know. So I'll think, woo! Right? Now, there was a lot of technical information contained in those phrases. I was playing a combination of, you know, the major sounds and the bluesier, the minor sounds. What you don't want to get trapped in is this either or thing, you know, where should I play major pentatonic over the 1 chord and then minor pentatonic over the 4 chord? Yeah, sure if you want to, but that's beside the point. You want to sound sweet? Which notes sound sweet? Oh, that sounds pretty sweet. That sounds pretty sweet. Arrange them together in a row. Yeah, it sounds pretty sweet, you know? I want to be a little bit more edgy. Well, that sounds a little bit edgier. Right? Put the two together. Now, was that major pentatonic or minor pentatonic? No. That was blues tonality. In other words, blues encompasses the whole range. So when you're playing a phrase, you're thinking about what's the vibe, what's the attitude. And as you learn scales and chords and all the stuff that you need to learn, you start to pick and choose and say, well, what does it really sound like? Not where do my fingers go, but how does it sound? How does it make me feel? When I hear somebody play and it touches me in a certain way with a certain attitude, what are they doing? How do they do that? You know, these are the important questions. And as you gain skills, you gain more ways of solving these problems of how to create a vibe. But it comes down to knowing what you're shooting for so that then you gather the resources that will get you to that point and put the other ones aside. You don't need those for now. Don't need to cover the whole neck and play major, minor pentatonic up and down. You're just going to play woo, you know, and there you go. Point made. You know what I'm saying? So thinking from the result backwards, working backwards. This is something they use in business, right? What's your goal? What are your fourth quarter fiscal goals? Well, we would like to achieve, you know, sales volume of, you know. So, you know, sad to say, it's kind of like that. You know, what is your goal? I want to get that woman in the third row to look up at me and pay attention, you know, put down her drink, stop looking at her phone, you know, and look up. That's my goal right there, you know. On a bigger picture level, I'd like to convince my girlfriend to come back home even though she's pissed off at me. Or I'm pissed off at her and I want to tell her what I'm pissed off about. You know, these are all things that will help you decide what to play and how to play it. Not technical, but equally, if not more important than anything you can say about where to put your fingers.